In this video, we're going to be seeing how to take a basic profile like the one on the left-hand side here and turn it into a profile like this on the right. Something with a lot more colors, a lot more definition. It's also prettier, I might add. And you'll notice one other neat thing. Look at this scale down here. Right now it goes from 0 to 3.2. You can get it to where it'll change at different places in the profile. So up here, when my cursor is up here, now the top limit is 4.2. With a basic profile like the one on the left-hand side, everything's just constants, which might work for you. But if you're producing different reels on different days that different limits are appropriate for, you're going to want to have automatic limits that are changing and changing how the colors are applied to the profile. All right, let's see how to do it. So again, we'll click on Profile Properties, and we're going to be doing a lot of our work in the Color tab. So initially, when you first configure a basic profile, you'll probably be using constant values here that you just picked off of your feel for what the range of your data was. If you want to get more colors, we can select one of these buttons here on the colors box area right here. And I'll say, okay, so this is going to be from blue to around purple. So I'll say maybe a dark blue will look good. And now I get a gradient. And when I say okay, I'll see that gradient appear in my profile. Now what it's showing here, it's showing that between 0 and 1.5, it's going to have these colors. So up here, this is zero value, moving towards 1.5. If I want to change the number of colors in my gradient, that's controlled by this box in the bottom left. If I change it up to 5, I'll see 5 colors in that range. And then I can go on and start putting in gradients between other things. So from 3 to 1.5, I could say I want something kind of like a blue-green. Yeah, this one right here. Yeah. And I'll get a gradient there. And then from 3 to 5, let's say I want something kind of like a green-yellow. And when I say OK, I'll have even more colors on my plot. Now for the purposes of this video, I'm going to turn it back down to 3. But you can use as many as you want. So the next thing about this is right now we're using constants. We don't need to. We can use tags and we can use calculations. If I wanted to use a tag, I'm going to show it in this display right over here, which I haven't pre-configured. The value of using a tag for your limits is that it can change at different times, and you don't need to do a thing manually. So here I've selected tag and I've written in the tag here. You can just write in the tag and your default server will be added, or you can put in / server name / tag name. I wrote my tag name as PD:MOIHHI for high limit. You can name it anything you want, but you will need to configure these limit tags in a specific way. You can find that out in the ProfileView manual. You just need to do a little bit of configuration with the location codes and the extended descriptor to make it recognize them as limits. So here I have three of my limits are defined by tags, and when I say OK, I'll see my profile. And again, if you look down here in the bottom left, that scale will change at different times. So we see earlier it was 4 to 4.2, and later on it was 3 to 3.2. You can mix and match, so you can have tags and then constants for other limits. The next option we're going to see is, what if I want to use a calculation? So instead of a constant and instead of a tag, we'll do some kind of calculation. Now this will be a calculation based on what the profile is showing. Specifically, what every individual row is. So in this case, I'm setting the high limit. So I'm going to say, well, I want the maximum. The maximum of that row I want to be defined as the high limit. And then if I go to the low limit, I say, okay, I want you to be using the minimum of that row. The target, well, it would make sense for this one maybe to be the average of the row. And then the next step up to perhaps be the average multiplied by some factor, let's say 1.3. And the low limit to be the average multiplied by, in the other direction, 0.7. All right. and we see we get a different profile entirely, or a different looking profile specifically. All the data is the same. All we've changed between those two is how the limits are calculated, how the colors are calculated really at different times. So you'll see down here at lower times, the range is different, 2.8 to 3.2, than it is earlier on, when it was 2.4 to 0.43. You also see on the left-hand side here a histogram, a running histogram of the values at different times. The middle line here is the average, or it's really the target value, which in this case I've set to be the average of each row, and then these are the high and low limits. You'll also see this histogram on the left-hand side now scales from whatever the target limit is. This is different than it was over here, where that histogram is always scaling from a set value. Now, the only thing different about this is how the target is defined. Here, the target was defined by a tag. Here, the target is defined by a running average. So the histogram is always going to be tracking or reaching off of that average. If you ever want to go back, you can press default colors, and that'll set it back to just the default colors here on the right-hand side. All right. Good luck making beautiful profiles that are very informative.